What if I told you that one of the best guides for living a happy, interesting life today was actually written 1,000 years ago by a lady-in-waiting in Japan's imperial court? It sounds kind of crazy, but her message is so incredibly modern. Let's get into it.
So who was this person? A woman writing about her personal tastes, her daily pet peeves, all the beautiful little moments she noticed? A full millennium before anyone had even heard of social media. I mean, you have to ask, was she the world's very first lifestyle blogger? The answer? Yeah, pretty much. Her name was Sei Shonagon, and her incredible work, The Pillow Book, isn't a novel with a plot. It's more like a personal, super witty, and just deeply observant collection of her thoughts, feelings, and experiences. Now, to really get what she was doing, we first have to understand the world she was living in. Because this wasn't just any old time or place. This was Heian-era Japan, a society that valued things completely differently from almost anywhere else on Earth. For the aristocracy, this was a time of incredible peace. So instead of fighting wars, all that energy got poured into the pursuit of beauty. We're talking art, poetry, romance, fashion. Your status wasn't about how tough you were in battle, it was all about having good taste. And the contrast is just wild when you think about it. While knights in medieval Europe were all about swords and land, a Japanese aristocrat was defined by their skill with a brush. Their poetic talent, how sensitive they were to the seasons. In this world, the sharpest weapon you could have was your wit. And this unique culture created a totally new style of writing. Shonagon's book basically invented a genre called zuhistu, which literally means following the brush. She just wrote down whatever caught her eye, whatever she was thinking, creating this amazing mix of lists, essays, and even a little court gossip. And her lists, oh, they're so relatable, it's kind of spooky. She has a list called Hateful Things, and it includes stuff that could have been tweeted yesterday. Preachers who just won't stop talking, visitors who show up right when you're busy, and my personal favorite, a lover who isn't quiet enough when they're trying to sneak out at dawn. Then you have these gorgeous little essays, like the very first line of the entire book. Notice she doesn't go for the obvious stuff like cherry blossoms. For her, the absolute best part of spring is that super specific fleeting moment of light right before sunrise. It's just a masterclass in paying attention to the tiny details. And finally, she gives us this incredible window into her actual life serving the brilliant Empress Tishi at court. And these aren't just dry journal entries, they're these warm, loving portraits of a really vibrant friendship between two incredibly smart women. There's this one famous story that just perfectly captures their whole vibe. The Empress looks at the snow outside and asks a riddle based on a famous Chinese poem. And Shonagon, without saying a single word, just gets up and raises the blinds, acting out the next line of the poem. It's this beautiful, clever, silent conversation between two people who are totally on the same wavelength. So, you've got the lists, the poems, the stories, but what's the big idea holding it all together? Well, it all comes down to a single, really powerful concept. It's basically a philosophy for how to see the world. And that concept is okashi. It doesn't just mean beautiful. It's more like things that are intriguing or charming or witty or just delightful. It's that little spark of joy you get when you notice something clever or interesting in an otherwise totally normal day. Now, at the exact same time, the other huge book of the era, The Tale of Genji, was all about a different ideal called Owar, which is about the deep, sad beauty of things that don't last. But Shonagon offered a totally different way of looking at things. She was like, instead of focusing on the sad stuff, why don't we focus on the bright, witty, joyful moments? But here's the thing that makes this so powerful. Her focus on joy wasn't because her life was perfect. Not at all. She was actually writing this while her beloved empress was suffering a horrible political downfall. So her choice to only write about their brightest, happiest moments, that was a deliberate act of will. It was an act of pride, a way to preserve the beautiful world she knew, even as it was falling apart. And this is where her 1,000-year-old book becomes this incredibly useful guide for us, right? Right now. It's all about learning to actively find your own sparkling moments. Seriously, think about it. If you've ever tried to get the perfect photo of your coffee, or you've posted a beautiful sunset, if you've ever curated your life online to focus on the good stuff, then you and Sei Shonagon are kindred spirits. She was doing the exact same thing, just with a brush and paper instead of a phone. Her whole philosophy basically gives you permission to trust your own taste. She's telling us that what society says is important or beautiful, it doesn't really matter.
Your world is made up of what you find interesting, what you find delightful. Your own personal likes are what create your reality. And that is really the ultimate lesson here. Look, life can be tough. Reality can be harsh. But what Shonagon teaches us is that just by shifting our perspective, by actively training ourselves to look for those Okashi moments, we can uncover a world that is always, always full of sparkling, interesting details. So the question she leaves us with 1,000 years later is actually a really simple one. Forget about the big picture for just a minute. What small, witty, charming, sparkling little moments are you going to choose to notice today?